I was asked to speak tonight about my career and kind of background really. And I kind of thought, well, I would talk for 15 or 20 minutes about my jobs. You're going to fall asleep really. So I thought I'll give you a little bit of background, but I'll put a little bit of meat on the bones, because one of the things I'm very passionate about is personal development and people doing really well and progressing their careers and really becoming outstanding at whatever they do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my kind of background and bring in kind of some lessons that I've learnt over the years. I've kind of been what they call a serial entrepreneur. I've bought and sold lots of companies, from small businesses up to £1 million, up to 12 and 15 million pound companies. And I was a director of a PLC when I was 25. So I kind of want to give you a little bit of a background. As you can tell, I'm from Ireland originally, from Belfast. I arrived in London when I was 18, and I kind of thought the world owed me a favour, really. I thought, I've just arrived, I'm going to make my millions, this is how it's going to be. So at 19 I launched my first business. That was a consumer kind of electronics business, and I was very proud of myself. I went to the bank, I got a loan, developed a business plan, I created some clever products, very, very innovative products, and I launched the business. I haven't spent all that money in stock, and I gave it everything that I had, and after 3 months I went back to the bank, or I was called back into the bank to close the account, because after 3 months I haven't sold a thing, not one single product that I sold. It was a complete and utter flop. So after 3 months I was penniless and broke and hungry, and living in a foreign country to me at the time. And a couple of things that I kind of learned from that very, very early on. One was that I didn't know it all, and I kind of thought I did. And one of the things that was really interesting for me tonight, seeing some of these guys talking about market research and about doing your homework and understanding, is there an actual market there for your product? I just assumed, because I'd created it, that there was, and there wasn't. And the other thing that I realised was that I wasn't entitled to anything. I just kind of thought, because I'm going to be selling this product, that people are going to buy it. And kind of what I realised was that the world didn't owe me anything. Whatever I was going to do, I was going to have to do myself. So, tail between my legs, I got a job, a proper job, and it was probably the most boring job on the planet. It was order processing. And I've got to say, I spent 8 hours a day typing orders into a computer. All the orders were identical, and it was absolutely mind-numbing. As a 19-year-old ambitious kind of entrepreneur, it was absolutely mind-blowing. I've got to tell you, it was worse than maths homework. It really, really was. And every day I went into work and I'd done this job, and I thought, this is completely pointless. What am I doing? I don't want to be here. And after a couple of months, I kind of sat down and thought, this is ridiculous. I've really got two options here. One is to continue hating what I was doing, or the other thing was to do something about it. I couldn't get another job. I tried, so I had to make the best of this job. And that's kind of what I did. I decided just to throw myself into it. Instead of deciding it was boring, I decided to learn a lot more about the company and the products. So I actually went down to the factory floor, and I learned about the products that we were selling. I learned about the business that we had. I learned about our customers. And I started to realise the software that we were using in this order processing didn't work properly. So I started delving into it, and I started to improve it and change it and tweak it. And suddenly I found I was really enjoying my job. And I kind of realised that what I kind of developed over a year period really was something that I call I became a value provider. So instead of just being there to do a job, I added immense value to the business. The business improved dramatically because of these improvements. And there's one thing that I would say to kind of everybody around this room as you kind of embark on your career. It's not really about a job. It's really about adding value, whatever it is that you do, whatever career path that you do. You want to go in, you want to add value to it, whether it's working for yourself or working for someone else. And value kind of is a really weird perception of what is something worth, what is the value of something. If I said, for example, bottle of water, what is that kind of worth? Maybe £1.50 or £2. Well, if I was in a desert and there was no water and there was no access to water, the value of this increases dramatically. So value is a perception really. So one of the things that I learned was that I had to become a value provider, and I had, whatever it was that I was doing, I had to give 100% to it. I improved things in that business, and I really started to make things happen. I learned to really make things happen and drive things forward. As a result of that, I became a trusted expert at 20 in that business. I became a key part of that business. Here's what I've discovered from that career and over the years since then, because I always look for value providers in the people that I employ. And one of the things that I discovered was when you're a value provider, you earn extraordinary amounts of money. And my salary doubled in a year in that business, which is pretty much unheard of. So we grew that business. I became an instrumental part of it. I was then able to go and get a proper education at Cranfield Business School. So over the years, I've got involved in buying and selling and restructuring quite a lot of companies, so something called mergers and acquisitions. And about 15 years ago, I was involved in a business turnaround where I got involved with a company that was turning over about £1 million a year, very small business, and it was losing money, lots and lots of money. I studied this business, and what I realised was that it had the same products as its competitors. It was the same kind of pricing, the same kind of processes. Everything about this business is very similar to its competitors. So I thought, how can I turn this around? How can I really change this business? And what I couldn't do was change the products. That was set, the factory was set. What I realised is in that company, that particular industry, everybody was operating on a 3-week delivery lead time in the whole industry. So what I decided to do was go down to the factory myself and make this product. And I realised it took me 2 or 3 hours from start to finish. So I thought, well, if it takes me 2 or 3 hours to make it, why is everybody delivering it in 3 weeks? And the production director explained this, and the operations director explained this, and the finance director explained this, and this is how it is, and this is what everybody else does. So I just kind of thought, sod that. I've invested a lot of time and money in this. The business was struggling. We were fighting against banks. We were fighting against all sorts of people who wanted to close us down, including competitors. It was harsh. The first Friday I went in there, I couldn't pay the wages of everybody. So I had to turn this business around. So what I did was I reinvented the way we done business. I changed our entire production process. The production director walked out, and I changed everything about the business. So we went from a 3-week turnaround to a 5-day turnaround. And what we did overnight was revolutionise a £3.5 billion industry. And we literally changed it overnight. That business then took off. It went from £1 million a year sales to £12 million a year in 36 months, making about £2 million a year profit. And I went from about 30 staff to about 300 staff. That created challenges in itself when you grow a business that quickly. It certainly creates some challenges. One of those challenges was I walked into the factory one day and I was grabbed and thrown out because the guys in the factory didn't realise that I was the director of the business. I hadn't met them after 6 months of being there. So I got thrown out of my own factory. But that's kind of one of the challenges that you have when you grow a business. There's some key lessons that I learned from that. And it was really interesting to see some of the guys talk earlier. One of those is the difference between invention and innovation. I think invention is an amazing thing. Revolutionising products and services is brilliant. Coming up with something new is brilliant. But you know what I've learned over the years in 7 or 8 companies that I've bought and sold, that innovation isn't necessarily invention. So for example, I innovated the process, not the product. The product was the same as everybody else. You know, does anybody know Harry Potter? Anybody read Harry Potter? You know, J.K. Rowling didn't invent books. What she did do was make nearly £1 billion writing one. So she didn't invent books. She just took what was already there and kind of innovated it, came up with something new and original. Apple did not invent the smartphone. They just did it better, tweaked it and changed it and improved things a little bit. And McDonald's did not invent the hamburger. So you've got to understand, one of the key things about a business, it's not always about inventing something and obsessing over I've got to come up with something that's brilliant. Sometimes all you've got to do is tweak something that's really good and just make it a little bit better. I sold this manufacturing business a couple of years later to an American company, Masco, which is a £14 billion business. And the key lesson for me of all of that was the sheer power of marketing. and branding and media as well, because I used the media massively to turn that company around and win customers. And that kind of gave me a real passion for marketing and sales and driving businesses forward. And I was thinking, and people were talking to me, how do I grow a business from 1 million to 1.5 million? And I was asking questions, how do we grow it from 1 million to 100 million? And that was kind of questions that I was asking. So 10 years ago, I sold all my business interests, not exactly retired to Weston-super-Mare, but I made this my base, and we launched the Ascot Group. And today that is 3 companies: Inside Data, which is a software company. What's really interesting, I took a basic software product and I reinvented it and put some bells and whistles on it, changed it a little bit, relaunched it, and we got 700 users worldwide. It's a truly global business, and some of the biggest companies in the world use our software. What was interesting, I would never have done that if I hadn't have been through that pain when I was 19 of this is pointless, I hate my job, this is so boring, I hate software, I hate typing these orders in. If I hadn't had that experience 20 years earlier, that would never have happened. And I started to realise it is the little lessons you kind of learn as you go on that kind of shape you and kind of strengthen you. Second business is Perplex. Perplex is largest marketing agency in the Southwest. We do all sorts of really cool stuff like PR and branding and marketing and writing and video and photography. And we're really developing cutting edge digital technology, app development, proximity based marketing. One of the guys earlier talked about phones and NFC, near field communications. We're developing a lot of technology now, so that some of the stuff that we're looking at is when you walk past a restaurant, it'll ping you with a special offer to it because it recognises your phone. So that's kind of some of the technology we're working on at the minute. And thirdly, is a publishing and media business. We publish magazines and online media and run big business awards and kind of events. And through that business, Business Leader magazine, I've been fortunate enough to work with some brilliant people like Michelle Mone, one of the top British business women, if not the number 1 British woman now. We recently interviewed Ollie, and I recently met with Mark Pearson, who's 27 years old. He's on the front cover of our magazine this month, and he's just sold his business for £53 million. So, and we've met Branson and all those kind of people. So it's been a really, really fascinating ride. Our little business, the Ascot Group, has grown 50% a year, every year, even through recession. And we've grown from 15 to 40 to 43 staff. In the last couple of years. We plan to grow that to about 100 people and be a kind of global leader in marketing and technology. One key thing here is and it's something that I see a lot, we didn't go from, as we call it, kind of zero to hero. This didn't happen overnight. We built a multi-million-pound business right here in Weston-super-Mare, technology business that companies in London can't even understand what we do, and we've done it right here in Weston-super-Mare. And a lot of people look at it and think, wow, how come you've done that so quickly? I wish I could do that. And the truth is, it didn't. It's happened over 25 years. All the skills and experiences and all that kind of tough times that we had over the years building companies is kind of what created that kind of background and enabled us to do that. So what I want to do now is just give you a few tips that I kind of look for, particularly for the kind of young people in the room. You're starting in your career, you're driving things forward. I kind of want to share with you some stuff. You're not going to like some of these, but I really hope you listen to them and kind of apply them. If you do, you're going to have a fantastic kind of career. I developed a business model about 15 or 20 years ago called SAM, S-A-M, that stands for Skills, Attitude and Momentum. So 3 ingredients that I look at when I'm employing somebody or when I'm looking at a business and I'm looking at the management team within that business. And these are kind of key things for you. First one is skills, which is the ability to learn. This sounds very obvious. You're all at school, you'll be going to college, you'll be going to universities, or you'll be going to apprentices over the next few years. And it's quite an obvious one. That ability to learn is absolutely key. You've got to want to learn. You know that whole thing kind of about this is boring, right? You've absolutely got to do it. You've got to jump in both feet, and you've got to find ways of making it not boring. So key thing is ability to learn, ability to communicate with others. That might sound a little bit bizarre, but one of the key characteristics of somebody who's really successful is that they're a really good communicator. They can talk well, they can present well, they can sit and have a conversation. So one of the key attributes that you need to develop is great communication skills. The next one under skills is personal responsibility, and this is a key one for me personally. One of the things you've got to understand as you go out into the world of work is that nobody owes you anything. It's absolutely up to you. Whatever you're going to be, it is up to you. It's not for your schools or your colleges or for your parents or your friends or your employer. It's not up to them to make it happen for you. Whatever you're going to be in this life, it's kind of up to you to do it. And I know it sounds obvious, but to give you an idea, since January, I think we've had about 600 or 700 people apply for jobs at the Ascot group, with about 1,200 CVs. And I haven't interviewed all of them. I did a final stage interview. But one of the characteristics that I look for is people that take personal responsibility, people that kind of going to just go out there and kind of do it. So take personal responsibility, it's up to you. And the other thing that I look for in skills is to be an innovator. You don't need to invent something from scratch. What you've got to do is have an inquiring mind that says, how can I make this better? How can I develop it? How can I kind of progress it? So that's skills. The next thing is attitude. So skills, attitude, and momentum. The next thing that I look for in somebody who I employ or we're invested in a business or bought a business or consult to a business, one of the key things is attitude that kind of I look for. And that attitude element, there's kind of three parts to it. One is to be a value provider, as I touched on earlier. I look for people who are solutions oriented. They're not problem oriented. Well, it's not my problem. I don't really know what to do about that. Well, figure it out, do it, sort it, try it, make something happen. So be a value provider. And I'll say again, people who are value providers earn extraordinary amounts of money. Okay? Turn boring and pointless into positives. We've all got to do the boring stuff. We've all got to do the homeworks. We've all got to work hard at school. We've all got to work hard at college. We've all got to do stuff that we don't like. I even made a cup of coffee in our office last month. I mean, it was just a real challenge, but I had to do it. But we've all got to do stuff that we don't like to do. And you've just got to do it. The key to do that is to find a way of making it positive. And you know, whether that is change the location that you're doing it, change the way you're doing it, change the people you're doing it with, learn more about the subject matter around it, just find a way of turning that it's boring, I don't want to do it, it's completely pointless, why am I doing this? It's a real thing for me because I'm seeing it more and more and more. Turn that into a positive. How do you make this kind of a positive? The other thing is when you are youngish, and there's one or two youngish people in here, is how to handle criticism and rejection. I think one of the things for me is that we want to encourage positivity and we want to encourage people to excel and to kind of do well and kind of reward success. I think it's also worth knowing that I think somebody touched on earlier, one of the judges, I think possibly about resilience. One of the key attributes of somebody who's really successful is they're resilient. They can take a knockdown and a knockdown and a knockdown and get back up again and become stronger for it. So you've got to learn how to take criticism and a little bit of rejection. And the last thing is momentum. Momentum for me is action. You know, I've employed so many people over the years, about 3,000 people. And one of the key things is the people that I want to put around me are people that take action. I don't want to employ somebody who sits around and, you know, starts on a Monday morning and is still there on Monday afternoon without having done anything. So, you know, don't wait to be told. Be this value provider. Find solutions. Look at what's going on, and don't sit around. Take action. If there's nothing to do, pick up a brush. Right? You know, just take action. And it's absolutely key thing. Don't sit around. You know, as a kind of Nike says, just do it. Is absolutely invaluable kind of advice. I'm just going to finish off and say, does anybody around this room actually want an average life? Yeah, no. Any hands up for kind of an average life? No. We all kind of want. One person wants an average life, right? It's really easy. All you got to do is do average things, right? Or work at an average pace, and you'll kind of get average things. If you want to, you know, when you're young, you kind of you're bold. You want to go out. You want to do great things. You want to really achieve. To be great at anything, you've got to do great things. You've got to do great work. So you've really got to put the time and effort in. So kind of don't do average. I'm just going to finish off by saying the one key attribute of anybody who I know, anybody who I work with, who is truly brilliantly successful, is you have got to be outstanding. You've absolutely got to be outstanding. It doesn't mean you've got to be academically brilliant, doesn't mean you've got to be beautiful, it doesn't mean you've got to be creatively brilliant, but you've got to be passionate, and you've got to be absolutely outstanding. I'll just demonstrate that very quickly. I'm just going to ask people in the room who are under, let's say, 25, if you just stand up for a second. Okay, if you're under 25, I know it's going to touch the nerve. You've kind of probably you've probably all seen this. So, okay, if I could just ask you now, just stretch as high as you can go. Just stretch as high as you can go. You've probably all seen this. Okay, is that as high as you can go? Now stretch a little bit further. Just kind of a little bit further. You see, now nearly everybody in this room has stretched a little bit further. You can kind of sit down now. And the point there is, right, no matter how far you can stretch, no matter how far you can push yourself, there's always a little bit more to go. There is always a tiny little bit more you can do. And let me tell you, folks, it is that little bit between there and there. There's a difference between somebody earning 10,000 a year and somebody who's earning 100,000 a year. It's that kind of little bit. So that finishes me. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to speaking to some of you after. Thank you.